A high school shooting in Santa Clarita, California, and Game of Thrones actor coming to NMU.
Later, we'll have weather with Maya Kurth and sports with Caleb Rydell. Hi, I'm Joseph Sigourney.
I'm Todd Rose, and welcome to Public Eye News. NMU students and especially fans of HBO's Game of Thrones are in for quite a treat next week as one of the show's cast members will be on campus. Christian Nairn, known for his role as Hodor, will speak for students and members of the public next Tuesday, November 19th. The event, presented by the NMU Group Platform Personalities, gets underway at 7 p.m. in Jamrich, room 1100. As of last night, police are still on the search for a 17-year-old girl missing in Menominee County. The girl, Kristen Hope Gramoski, was last seen at the State Line Mini Mart in Marinette, Wisconsin, wearing a purple winter jacket with fur on the hood and gray sweatpants. She was reported missing Monday. If anyone has knowledge of Gramoski's whereabouts or any related information, they may contact the Menominee City Police Department at 906-863-5568 or dial 911.
Hunting is a tradition on the Upper Peninsula, with local and visiting hunters contributing $538 million annually to the UP economy, and the biggest boom is during deer and firearm season. Tammy Engelhart, owner of Indian County Sports, said, quote, "The last week before opening day, there's a huge push of customers. We sell a lot more licenses then, hundreds a day. Sometimes we have people lined up to buy them," end quote. Some UP hunters are already set up, starting their season prepping way before the eve of opening day. And speaking of preparing for hunting, hunters will be pleased to know that the temperatures will be more favorable for hunting in the upcoming weeks. Hunters will find this weather more favorable, and mild daytime highs may let you stay in the woods longer, increasing your odds of bagging a buck. And with no major storms looming, at least within the first week to 10 days of deer season, hunters may only contend with the occasional snow shower. With weather looking good and the deer population in good shape, we wish everyone a safe and fun opening weekend.
A Thursday night city council meeting in Negaunee saw the decision to allow recreational marijuana within the city's limits. Citizens were also in attendance for the meeting, which included a public hearing. Some voiced concerns about marijuana-related businesses, to which the city assured them the businesses would only be allowed in industrial zones. And a new contract agreement was reached between the Dickinson County Health System and Board of Trustees of, the Health System Board of Trustees and Dickinson County Commissioners for autopsies. DCHS's pathology department was recently the victim of cuts stemming from financial issues. The new agreement allows morgue access to the medical examiner for necessary tasks. At the moment, a long-term solution is still being looked at. And stay tuned. After this short break, we'll be back with a look at national and international news.
Don't miss one of Broadway's Tony-winning best plays.
What do you see? Red?
Red, about the brilliant artist Mark Rothko and his relationship with his paintings.
There's tragedy in every brushstroke.
And with his assistant.
Have you ever once asked to look at my work?
Why should I? This is all about me.
Starring Alfred Molina and Alfred Enoch. Enjoy Red.
Here's some red, and red, and red. Lots of red.
Red on Great Performances.
Tonight at 9 on WNMU TV.
Welcome back to Public Eye News. At least 2 dead and 3 others are injured after a school shooting in Sagas High School in Southern California. A 16-year-old boy pulled a handgun out of his backpack at a Southern California high school Thursday morning and shot 5 of his fellow students, killing 2 before he turned the gun on himself. The motive of the tragedy still remains unclear, and the FBI is also looking into social media posts that may have had a connection to the shooting, but no further details have been released. And as students fled from the Sagas High School, they never thought their lockdown drills would have to be put into use. That is no exception for 2 sisters who had only one thing on their mind: is my sister okay? Jonathan Vigilati sits down with the sisters that witnessed this horror.
At first, I thought it was fake.
Micah Turner had just arrived at the school quad Thursday morning when gunshots rang out.
I just saw him fire 1, 2, 3. I just saw like just a body fall. And my first instinct was to get out of there and to find my sister.
Amidst the chaos, her sister Samara was hiding in a classroom.
I was just like freaking out because I heard the gunshots loud and clear because it left a little ring in my ear.
Jeff Turner had just returned home when he heard the news from his wife.
She hops in the truck and says, "Go back to the park, there's a shooting at the high school."
It took about 45 minutes for the family to reunite, but it felt like a lifetime.
And I just started crying hysterically because I saw.
We opened the car door, she got in, and then she just jumped on me in the back seat, and then I held her for like a good minute or two, and we were both just crying and just relieved that we were finally together.
What sticks in your mind as we talk right now?
His face, and just seeing that one person fall. It's gonna be hard to forget, and I'm gonna have to live with that sight in my head.
I know for a fact this will be with her the rest of her life, and that it makes me so angry.
A mother in Georgia is voicing her frustration after her daughter was given a ride home from a stranger after she was kicked off her school bus. The mother, Janisha Waller, says her 6-year-old Jamila was kicked off the bus along with 2 other first-grade students. The students then tried to walk home before being picked up by a stranger who delivered them home safely. Waller said of the situation, quote, "Not only did she just walk, she was also picked up by a stranger. It was a lady, and thank God she didn't do anything to her, but that's what, 1 out of a million? It could have turned out so different," end quote. According to the school district, it is the bus driver's responsibility to make sure students are in the hands of school officials if taken off the bus. And deep in the heart of French wine country, there is a chateau like no other. It attracts tens of thousands of visitors every year, but as Ian Lee reports, wine isn't the star attraction.
Burgundy may be known for its wine, but it's what's nestled between the vines that draws tourists to this winery. The world's largest private fleet of fighter jets, 110 in all. It's not your typical collection, but 87-year-old Michel Pont is not your typical collector. I was born passionate, he says, and a bit crazy. Pont says he caught the collector's bug while in the French Air Force and started buying the jets 30 years ago to save them from being destroyed. Oh, man. And that attracts the crowds of tourists interested in wine and war.
It's really surprising, particularly in the middle of the wine country. I mean, this is a beautiful vineyard. This is quite a surprise.
It isn't just a massive display of weapons of war. Each jet tells an individual story. Like this F-8 Crusader known as the last gunfighter. It squared off against the MiG-17 in the skies over Vietnam. And this F-100 Super Sabre. The Air Force's Thunderbirds used it to dazzle spectators at the Paris Air Show in 1967. But the pride of Pont's squadron is this F-16. But it didn't come easy. I was friends with a Belgian general who wanted to give me the F-16, but the Americans wanted it destroyed, he recalls. After badgering the American ambassador, he finally intervened and called one day saying, "Bring your truck and get your jet." These jets in particular, well, they're special to Pont. It's thanks to the Americans and Brits that we were liberated from the Nazis, he tells me. So I enjoy displaying this American pride and honor. A man rooted in both wine and history, and still in the market for another American jet. Ian Lee, CBS News in Bonn, France.
Right after this break, we'll be back with weather and sports here on Public Eye News.
The Great Lakes region is a beautiful area, rich in history, with majestic scenery found everywhere, above and below the lakes. For thousands of years, people from many lands came to this territory seeking resources and to harvest precious metals, especially copper.
Sunday afternoon at 3 on WNMU TV.
I'm Maya Kurth, your weather forecast today. Currently, we're looking at the NMU sky cam. It's pretty cloudy. Clouds are winding down for the day. Moving to our current conditions, it's pretty snowy. Temperatures at 24 degrees. North winds at 16 miles per hour, and barometric pressure is 30.39 inches and rising. This evening, it's going to be partly cloudy. Temperatures are lowering, 18 degrees. Southeast winds at 18 to 23 miles per hour. Tomorrow, it's going to be partly cloudy, 36 degrees, south winds at 15 to 23 miles per hour. And looking on the eastern side of the UP in Sault Ste. Marie, it's 23, 28 in Manistee, 34 in Escanaba, 37 in Menominee. Moving to the western side of the state in Iron Mountain, 33, 30 in Ironwood, 24 in Houghton, and 24 and snowy back here in Marquette. Looking ahead, on Sunday, it's going to be a high of 36, low of 31, snow showers. Monday, high of 38, low of 31 and cloudy. And Tuesday, high of 38, low of 32 and also pretty cloudy. And although, we have some dim weather, we're hoping for some bright outcomes out on the ice for our hockey team.
Yeah, it was a bit cloudy last weekend, Maya, but yeah, hopefully this weekend we're going to be taking some wins out there. The NMU Wildcats are back on the ice tonight after a bitter end to their win streak of 7 games, and with 2 of them being ties. Playing against St. Cloud State last weekend. It was a tough weekend for the Cats as they just squeezed in a tie in the 3rd period on Friday when they got a double power play that gave them a chance to catch up to the Huskies. Saturday started out with the Huskies making a statement as they scored 3 goals in the 1st period, but the Wildcats caught up to them in the 3rd period when they made 3 goals and sent the game into overtime. Ultimately failing as the Huskies scored into overtime, the loss is the 2nd one for the Wildcats that they have received so far this season. The Cats are looking to start a new win streak and trying to keep up their current 2nd place standing in the WCHA that they are currently sharing with Alaska. The Cats hit the ice tonight at 7 p.m. to take on Alaska Fairbanks. And the helmets were flying at last night's NFL game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. With 8 seconds left in the 4th quarter, the Browns had already had the win secured in a last-minute play, and which ended in a brawl as the Browns defensive end Myles Garrett tackled Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph. He had just thrown the ball, and then the two started wrestling on the ground. Garrett ended up pulling off Rudolph's helmet, and once on their feet, swung it at the quarterback and hit him in his head. Both teams rushed to the end zone where the fight was taking place and ended up breaking it up. The Browns won the game 21-7, but lost Garrett as he had been suspended indefinitely for his violent actions. Week 11 of NFL continues Sunday. And after a long winding road of a 2019 season, the NASCAR Championship concludes this weekend at the Homestead Miami Speedway in Florida. 4 drivers are eligible to win the title under the current playoff system NASCAR uses. They are Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, and Kevin Harvick. Harvick is the only non-Joe Gibbs racing driver in the championship 4, as he represents Ford driving for Stewart Haas Racing. The biggest story this weekend, though, is Denny Hamlin the only driver in the 4 not to have a championship win in his name. Hamlin won last weekend in Phoenix to qualify for the championship round. Sunday's NASCAR finale, the Ford 400, gets underway at 3 p.m. with coverage provided by NBC. Well, I hear you got an interesting story from me, Joe.
Yeah, well, we all wish unicorns were real, right? Well, a 10-week-old golden retriever rescue puppy might just be the closest we've seen so far. The nearly 10-week-old puppy named Narwhal has a tail-like appendage growing from his forehead. Max Mission founder Rochelle Steffen says Narwhal doesn't mind the extra tail and is otherwise happy and a healthy puppy. Although it looks like a tail, Narwhal unfortunately cannot wag it. And that is all the time we have here on Public Eye News. I am Joseph Sigourney.
And I'm Caleb Rydell. Well, thank you for tuning in to Public Eye News.
Enjoy your
The preceding program was produced by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television, in studios located in Elizabeth and Edgar Hardin Hall.